is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting norml.org, Norml.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of Norml Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of Norml. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents Norml Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, Norml's outreach coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes. It is Tuesday, March 27th, 2012, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us here for the podcast, live show. Going to have ourselves a really good time here. Got all sorts of folks in the studio joining us as well. Let's go to the overhead cam here. You can see we got Ganja John and Todd Armstrong and Wiz Calico. Everybody's in the house. Say hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Hello, hello. I had Wiz Calico set for the Sarah Frank level there. Let me fix that again.
Super high.
There we go.
Yeah.
Got Ganja John on the mic.
What up?
And Todd Armstrong.
Hola, hola.
Todd's got our toker topic for today. So what are we going to be talking about today, Todd?
The social etiquette of the North American stoner.
There is such a thing.
There should be.
There should be. We're going to work on that. Also, Wiz Calico and Ganja John here, as well as our senior news editor, Cannabis Carrie. Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Hi, Russ. Doing great out here in Astoria today.
Oh, good. I'm switching up levels and fixing things here. So Carrie's got our hemp headlines right at the beginning of the show, right after this first break. What do we have in the news today?
Well, today I'm going to tell you about a medical marijuana bill in New Hampshire that's gaining quite a bit of support. We're going to go to Rhode Island, where dispensaries are not gaining any support. Then we're going to go to California and talk about a city's legal fees to fight a dispensary. Then we're going to go back to the East Coast to Massachusetts, where a guy is in trouble over his business cards.
All right, we'll get to that right in the first segment after the first break here. Also, coming up today, it's Electric Tuesday in our daily Toker Tunes, and I've gone to the library again to get you this song. A very funny album title. We'll just get to that in Electric Tuesday at 20 after. Then, there you go, meow, exactly. Coming up at half past, we're going to have... yes, I get it already. Coming at half past, we've got a terrible story to have to tell you. James Bell is joining us, and he's going to tell us the story of Rodney Graham, a young man who died in police custody in Douglas County, Georgia, over a marijuana charge. It's just awful what happened to him there, and he's trying to raise some awareness and some support to protest what's going on there in the Douglas County Jail in Georgia. Then we got Todd's Toker topic on social etiquette, and then a little time at the end for some radical ranting. I'm going to bring you one of the most entertaining emails that I have ever received in my time of working for Norml, so I'll read that to you. Plus, we'll talk a little bit about Toker Talk Radio Hour 2 becoming a podcast. All that and more coming up on today's Norml Show Live, so stick around. We got plenty to cover. You can join us in hour 2 and get your phone calls in at 971-533-7111. And for more information, check out our blog at stash.norml.org.
You're listening to Norml Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hi, I'm Radical Russ. One of the best things about marijuana is the wonderful aroma. But when you travel a lot like I do, that aroma becomes a suspicious smell. That's why I endorse stealth-products.com, the leaders in smell-proof containers. From smell-proof vacuum bags to smell-proof backpacks and duffel bags, all the way to smell-proof digital safes, stealth-products.com has you covered. Stealth-products.com brings you safe, secure, odorless layers of protection with activated carbon fiber. Backpacks and duffel bags are simple black so as not to attract attention with a logo or a flashy design. Now, nothing is perfectly odor controlled from the detection of drug dogs, but with proper vigilance, containers from stealth-products.com will help you avoid nosy humans.
You're now listening to Elliot Beats.
Stealth-products.com. Stealth-products.com.
Hey, this is Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger Seeds, TGAgenetics.com, and you're listening to The Norml Network.
Weedmaps.com. I'm Radical Russ from Norml. In my job as outreach coordinator, I travel every month, and when I'm on the road, I need a fast, accurate way to find the medical marijuana dispensaries in the area. So I turn to Weedmaps.com. Weedmaps.com has the best dispensary locator online or on your mobile device. Search by zip code or let Weedmaps find you, and in seconds you'll have the addresses, phone numbers, and customer service reviews for the medical marijuana dispensaries in the local area. Weedmaps.com also has a section devoted to helping you find a doctor who understands and recommends medical marijuana under your state's law. You can even check prices on the Medical Marijuana Stock Exchange. Coming soon, you'll even be able to find the listings of Norml attorneys and chapters, local head shops and grow shops, and the best weed-friendly businesses. Weedmaps.com has the information you need to be an informed cannabis consumer. Visit Weedmaps.com today, a proud sponsor of the Norml Network.
Inhaling deeply of the sacred smoke.
Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's Norml News with Cannabis Carrie.
Some New Hampshire state senators are working hard to make sure that a medical marijuana bill will get enough support to withstand the governor in the state's opposition. Senator Jim Forsyth, a Republican from Stratford, and State Representative Evelyn Merrick, a Democrat from Lancaster, led a news conference today to promote their home cultivation approach to medical marijuana. The governor of New Hampshire, John Lynch, has always opposed medical marijuana bills that have come up before, so the bipartisan duo says that they are working hard to find supporters of the medical marijuana bill so they can veto-proof both chambers for the bill to have a chance. The proposed law would allow patients with qualifying and debilitating medical conditions, as well as a caretaker they have assigned, to have up to 6 ounces of marijuana, 6 mature plants, as well as 12 seedlings at their registered cultivation location. The patients would register through the state and be issued an identification card to signify that they are enrolled in the program. Out of state patients that have a certification from a doctor that they have one of the qualifying conditions like cancer or AIDS, PTSD is on the list, chronic pain or nausea disorders, would be able to possess marijuana without a card in the state, but not be able to cultivate it. Caretakers would be required to pass a background check before receiving their identification cards. The supporters of the New Hampshire medical marijuana bill think that the bill's inclusion of home cultivation will reduce the risk of abuse of federal intervention. Similar to Vermont or Oregon's medical marijuana law, the law would allow a patient to compensate a caretaker who is cultivating medicine for them for actual expenses like soil and lights and electricity, but they would not be allowed to be compensated for labor, something the bill sponsors say would eliminate the business aspect of the exchange of medical cannabis. Forsyth said the bill purposely removed that profit incentive. Now, if a cardholder provided marijuana to someone not in the program or not a qualifying out-of-state patient, though, they would have their card revoked and face a Class B felony worthy of a possible 7 years in prison. Now, lastly, the bill would have to be renewed in 3 years by lawmakers, or it would effectively expire 3 years after it began if lawmakers feel that it isn't working for their state. Now, the bill will be up for discussion and a vote tomorrow in the full Senate since it received a unanimous passing from the Health and Human Service Committee under the support of Senate Republican leader Jeb Bradley. Now, it's going to be close. That bill has quite a bit of bipartisan support, and if passed, it will most certainly be vetoed by Governor Lynch. So it needs 2/3 majority to pass in both chambers to clear that threat. Governor Lynch vetoed a medical bill that passed both chambers in 2009 with only a 2-ounce possession limit and a dispensary provision. That bill had passed the House with the over 2/3 majority, but had passed in the Senate only 2 votes shy of that veto-proof threshold. Now, last year, a medical marijuana or a bill that passed the House but died in the Senate after Governor Lynch came out and promised a veto before that vote. That was the medical marijuana last year. Now, Lynch has not made any friends in the cannabis community. He also promised this month to veto a decriminalization bill that passed the House a few weeks earlier.
Yeah, Governor Lynch, a Democrat, I might note, has been a longtime opponent to this medical marijuana. Some interesting things in this bill. First of all, a 3-year sunset provision. Kind of timid going out there with a 3-year sunset. That just means the program would be in place for 3 years, and then if it's not voted on again to pass, then the program would go away. But again, with as much support as it's got in the New Hampshire legislature, I don't see that that's necessarily a problem unless something terribly wrong happens, in New Hampshire. It is something to say for these legislators to be able to get a 2/3 majority. We're talking about the largest legislature in the United States. New Hampshire's legislature, the House, has 400 or some representatives, almost as many as what we have in the United States House of Representatives. So this is quite a bit of work here. As far as New England area or East Coast medical marijuana proposals go, this has got to be one of the better ones. 6 ounces of possession, when most of them lately in the East Coast are 1 ounce or 2 ounces. Home grow of up to 6 plants and 12 seedlings. That's, none of the last 4 that have passed medical marijuana have had home grow. So that's definitely good. And I'm really thrilled to hear about the reciprocity provisions in here. Why should a patient from Oregon or California or Michigan or Montana not be able to go to New Hampshire and enjoy the same protection from arrest that they have in their own home state? It's just good for tourism dollars, if anything else. So kudos to the people that are working in New Hampshire to get this passed. We'll keep you posted on how well it gets through the legislature.
And Rhode Island has had a rough time implementing their state's licensed medical marijuana dispensary provision. Governor Lincoln Chafee, an independent, had blocked the dispensary provision in the state's medical marijuana law to establish 3 dispensaries so patients who could already legally possess marijuana for medical use would have access to it if they were too sick or unable to cultivate it themselves. Rhode Island enacted their medical marijuana law in 2006, allowing patients to legally possess small amounts of marijuana to treat conditions that were on a list of qualifying conditions, including chronic pain, severe nausea, seizures, and multiple sclerosis. In 2009, lawmakers passed legislation to set up 3 nonprofit dispensaries where patients could obtain marijuana in a state-regulated environment. Those 3 dispensaries have already gone through the long, drawn-out process involved in being named the state's compassion centers. They are the Thomas C. Slater Compassion Center in Providence, Summit Medical Compassion Center in Warwick, and the Greenleaf Compassionate Care Center in Portsmouth. They are set to open within a month, but they might not be able to due to a meeting about the rules tomorrow. Currently, they are arguing about the amount of medical marijuana the dispensaries can have on site at any given time. This last-minute rule change is to seek a compromise that lawmakers say would protect the compassion centers from federal intervention. Advocates say that adopting limits would make it difficult for dispensaries to keep enough medicine on hand to meet demands and ultimately to meet the demands of their bills to stay open. Once lawmakers approve this new compromise to allow a limit to be set, it would be up to the state health department to set those limits once the lawmakers say that they can. Once the bill allowing them to set the limit passes, the health department plans to hold a public hearing on all of the regulations. Lawmakers have been brokering this compromise with Governor Chafee's office to be flexible. If the feds threaten intervention, the department can tighten limit controls. If the dispensaries can't meet demand, they can relax them, or at least that's how it works on paper. These new developments mean that the lawmakers can spend a few more months hammering out these details, so the dispensaries might be on the hook to wait another 6 months before they can open their doors. The U.S. Attorney for Rhode Island, Peter Nerona, has reiterated in a letter on Monday that federal authorities have not endorsed this compromise and remain opposed to large-scale commercial operations for medical marijuana. So, Russ, we're sort of back where we started. New Hampshire might have gotten it right to avoid this whole dispensary mess.
Yeah, what they'll try to compromise to are what the sentencing guidelines and prosecutorial guidelines are from the U.S. attorneys that are going after medical marijuana. And specifically, these things would be keeping more than 1,000 feet away from any possibility a child might ever see the brick and mortar building that is dispensing marijuana. Not even whether or not there's a pot leaf on the door or anything. My God, they can't even see the damn building. And then the other thing would be the number of plants that might be cultivated at one of these centers. Typically, the United States U.S. attorneys don't go after marijuana cultivation cases unless they can get 100 plants or more. 100 plants is kind of the magic number there, because after that, it trips a 5-year federal mandatory minimum sentence. And the lengths they'll go to get that mandatory are incredible. Of course, Dr. Molly Fry and Dale Schaefer are serving 5 years in California in federal prison. And the way they got the 100 plants on them was to count their harvest from 3 successive years to be able to come up to 100 plants. So if you think that you can really run a commercial medical marijuana dispensary that is taking care of all the patients of Rhode Island and keep them limited to like 96 plants to be able to produce medicine for all of the patients in the state. Now, I know Rhode Island's a tiny little state, but still, we're talking about a lot of patients. There are hundreds or thousands of patients that are going to need medicine. 96 plants at a center is just not going to cover it. And then this is what we have to keep dealing with because of federal prohibition. And the only way federal prohibition goes away is if a state stands up and ends prohibition in a state and takes this fight to the courts. When one state legalizes, the next states will start to consider it and the dominoes will begin to fall. So keep that in mind, medical marijuana reformers. This never gets to where you want it to be until we legalize for healthy people as well.
And from Southern California, a city is finding that fighting a medical marijuana dispensary in their community is expensive. The city of Rancho Mirage has had to invoke the city's legal fees insurance policy after racking up legal bills of $128,339 and putting up a fight to keep a collective from opening their doors. The Desert Heart Collective briefly opened as a storefront medical marijuana dispensary, but then was closed by a city moratorium ban on storefront dispensaries. That dispensary sued after a complete ban was enacted in February of 2011. A Riverside County Superior Court Judge Randall White has ruled in favor of the dispensary on multiple occasions, and most recently this month by ordering the city to process that dispensary's application for a certificate of occupancy. But he also sided with the city this month and ordered the Desert Heart Collective to turn over their financial records to back up their claim of more than $2 million in damages at the hands of the city council. Now, the collective responded with a request to have that damage portion of their suit be dismissed. City Attorney Steve Quintella said that this is the first time the city has ever had a claim for their legal fees insurance policy that they pay an annual premium of $91,837 for. They have to pay the first $50,000, and that policy would cover up to $10 million in legal fees if the city is sued. Quintella said that it has never been used because the city seldom gets sued. Both the mayor and the city council members say that this battle has been well worth it, and to protect the city, litigation does not change the direction that the city should take. Councilman Gordon Mueller noted that the city's offered to pay the transportation costs of outlaying dispensaries for medical marijuana patients that live in Rancho Mirage.
It never fails to amaze me how much money and attention and serious legal talent and analysis that our cities and our localities can put into trying to stop the menace that is a dispensary getting medicine to sick people. $128,000 in legal fees. They're paying 90 some odd thousand a year for this legal insurance. Plenty of time and attention to try to stop someone from opening a medical marijuana dispensary. Now, can someone from the Rancho Mirage area tell me whether or not teachers still have to buy school books, pencils, and paper for their kids?
And a 55-year-old man from Massachusetts is in hot water over his business cards, according to the Whitman Police Department. Michael Sansone had business cards printed up that had a picture of a marijuana plant, the words medical, the words for sale, his phone number, the hours of sales that are being 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday and noon to 6 p.m. on weekends, and one last line, ask for Mike. Police arrested the man on Saturday after a woman called police to report the man had approached her in a parking lot offering to sell her marijuana and even opened up his trunk to show her his wares. The woman panicked because she thought the man was opening his trunk to abduct her, so she memorized his vehicle plate number, then gave it to police. The man had already received a report of being a marijuana dealer with a business card. The police had a report, so they were able to obtain a search warrant for his home with the information the woman gave him. When officers arrived at his home and knocked on his door, he told them, "Yes, but I'm just selling marijuana." From Sansone's home, they took 3 ounces of marijuana, $330 in cash, scales, baggies, some buckets, his notebook ledger, his cell phone, his black 1990 Audi, and yes, all of his business cards. Police charged Sansone with possessing marijuana with intent to distribute and possessing marijuana. He was arraigned on Monday and released on bail and is scheduled for a pretrial hearing on June 14th.
A weed dealer with business cards, huh? The first thing that came to my mind as you were telling this story was an old 1970s Saturday Night Live skit that starred Dan Aykroyd. It was called Fred Garvin, Male Prostitute. It was just a matter of fact out there, this is my business and this is what I do. And I guess that's what we've got here for the medical marijuana seller there in Massachusetts. Sure would be nice if we could just get this legalized so guys could actually have business cards and have legitimate businesses and pay taxes and hire people and contribute to the economy and take the marijuana dealing out of the parking lots and the trunks of 1990 Audis and put into storefronts where we can choose from a vast selection of inspected and very potent, wonderful marijuana. Wouldn't that be easier?
I think it would be easier to take a break.
We don't really need guys with business cards around here, do we?
No.
We just know them by sight. We'll be right back after this.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Norml Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would send you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
Science is like a blabbermouth who ruins a movie by telling you how it ends. Well, I say there are some things we don't want to know. Important things.
76% of Americans no longer support arresting and jailing marijuana smokers, and nearly as many support the medical patients having access to medical marijuana. And over 80% of our citizens now believe the war on drugs is an ineffective failure. So the question is, when will the government's misguided war on adult marijuana smokers finally end? When? Simple. When you and your like-minded friends, family, and coworkers get involved with an organization such as the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, also known as Norml. My name is Keith Stropp, and I founded the organization in 1970. Contact us at Norml, toll-free, 888-67-NORML, or by visiting the organization's up-to-date webpage at www.norml.org.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today we bring you tunes for Electric Tuesday, our segment featuring the best of modern electric music in the genres of dance, new age, house, and experimental. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on Norml Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, folks, you know me, I love a good pun. And for today's Electric Tuesday, I found an album that was called Music to Soothe Your Pussy. And I'm talking about her cat, okay? My God, you people are disgusting.
How are you soothing the cat?
But this is, you can see the album cover there on the webcam. It's a compilation for Kitty. By Mind Movie from Los Angeles, California. Music for your cat, endorsed by the renowned cat whisperer Morley J. Mojo Anuba. Does your pussy get all lonely and upset when you have to leave for work? Do you come home to a cat with a bad attitude? Well, that's about to change. Renowned cat whisperer Mojo Anuba, with the assistance of the illustrious Dr. Boris Katsky and superstar stunt coordinator Bob Cat, after 2 years of round-the-clock research and testing, have come up with an amazing yet simple solution: music to soothe your pussy. It is well known that classical music, especially by Mozart, can hold the attention of infants and small children and helps them to develop their learning skills and interactiveness with the world much faster than they normally would. In a controlled study with over 2,000 volunteers, Mr. Anubis subjected his feline group to many different kinds of music over an 8-week period. The pussycats' reactions were closely monitored, and the scientific staff began to see a pattern. There were certain songs that had a major calming effect on the kitties, and they began to purr almost in unison. This same scientific study was conducted 3 more times with the very same results. Based on this study, the cat whisperer and his assistants were able to compile a list of the 50 most favorite music pieces of the pussy population and approached Snailworks with the idea of releasing a CD with the special selections for that list. So when you know you have to leave your pussy alone, you can rest easy. Just put this CD in your player and set it to repeat or loop, and Kitty will be calm and happy when you return. Music to soothe your pussy includes such tracks as We Are the Pussies, Cadillac Moon, Sex and the Kitty, Cat Walking, Waltz of the Russian Blue, and this tune, Sophisticated.
Milk from my kitties.
everybody, it's Wiz Khalico from the Ivory Island Hour, which comes to you live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific on the Norml Network. I just wanted to let you know that two of my favorite bands are teaming up to spread good vibes across the land and are headed to a venue near you. Revolution is heading out on the second leg of their tour in support of the release of their new triple album, Peace of Mind, which includes full-length acoustic and dub versions. They'll also be joined by our boys from the land of Aloha, The Green. They're also promoting the recent release of their latest album, Ways and Means. You can check out a full list of shows, get the latest swag, and most importantly, find their music at revolutionmusic.com and thegreen808.com. Don't miss this amazing tour. I promise you, after these shows, you'll have peace of mind.
Fishbone pulled up there. We pulled up today in the van, and I walked out of the building, walked through the big building over, and I walked outside. And I'm walking over by the lake, and I just see everybody casually smoking weed like it's all right. Like it's supposed to be like that. Because it is all right. Like you ain't got to worry about no police coming and asking you what you smoking or what are you doing here or let me see your driver's license. See, that's how they do it in Amsterdam. Everybody just out there chilling. Ain't nobody stressing. You go buy your weed at the shop, you go kick it, smoke your weed, walk the street, do whatever you want to, and you don't even get messed with.
This is Norml Show Live.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years. They've got mandatory sentences, and these judges just say, they throw up their hands and say, there's nothing we can do. It's mandatory sentences. We've got to take a look at what we're considering crimes.
When the Reverend Pat Robertson from television's The 700 Club
criminalizing marijuana, criminalizing the possession of a few ounces of pot and that kind of thing. I mean, it's just
makes more sense on the marijuana issue than the President, the Congress, and the Supreme Court.
It's costing us a fortune, and it's ruining young people. The young people go into prisons, they come out, they go in as youths, and they come out as hardened criminals, and it's not a good thing.
You know we're winning.
Catch Norml News with Cannabis Carry every weekday on Norml Show Live at 7 p.m. Eastern, here on the Norml Network. The most devastating effect of the war on marijuana is that it is a war on everyday people like you and me. All week, we speak to the doctors, scientists, celebrities, and politicians who make up the professionals fighting for cannabis liberty. But we never forget about the tens of millions who use cannabis, the millions who need medical access to cannabis, and the hundreds of thousands arrested every year for cannabis, and the tens of thousands imprisoned under our marijuana laws. At Norml, we are the Cannabis Consumers Lobby, and we take this opportunity to share the experience of our cannabis community.
All right, folks, welcome back. I never like to have to do these stories, but they're important for us to hear, especially those of us out on the West Coast where we are quibbling over DUIs and whether or not an ounce is true legalization. There's still people in this country who are dying over marijuana prohibition. Joining me by telephone right now is James Bell. He's with the website douglastruthandjustice.wordpress.com. I've given you a short link, rad-r.us/Rodney, Georgia. It's up there on the screen. It's in the chat room if you want to click on that to learn more. But right now, let's welcome James Bell to the show. James, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Russ.
We're here to talk about the case of Rodney Neal Graham, who unfortunately died in police custody. Please tell our listeners how that came about.
Rodney Neal Graham was a 30-year-old husband, father of two children. He was driving his car. Evidently, the police stopped him on the road, found a small amount of marijuana in his car, and was arrested. He apparently had a previous arrest and was on probation. He was then transferred to Douglas County, Georgia, which is about 20 miles west of Atlanta. And 4 days later, he was dead. His family had warned the Douglas County Sheriff's Office that he had a kidney disease and needed medical treatment, and they refused to give him the proper medical care. They watched him for 4 days on the floor, vomiting, unconscious, in and out of consciousness, failed to render any emergency medical care. The doctor basically gave him some antibiotics and basically an aspirin for something that needed emergency medical care. And so this young man dies in the Douglas County Jail. The Sheriff's Department and evidently the coroner determined that he died from detoxification, which I have never heard of anyone dying from detoxification, even if there was such an issue. Certainly, emergency medical care should have been rendered to this man. We believe there was a cover-up by the Douglas County, Georgia Sheriff's Department. We believe that they basically, once a year had passed, the family had basically had a settlement of $935,000 out-of-court settlement with the Douglas County government for his death. The family lawyer then went back to the district attorney, David McDade, and forced a second investigation by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and it revealed, in fact, he did die of renal failure, which I understand that is kidney disease related. And so a second investigation forced them to basically indict two women who were in charge of his medical care, and we believe these women are basically being scapegoated, and we as citizens, I live in Douglas County, Georgia, and we as citizens rallied last Saturday to call for the resignation of Sheriff Phil Miller and his staff. We believe that regardless of what crime a person is accused of, a jail cell should not become a death chamber for anyone.
Absolutely. And this story really hits home for me because our co-host and engineer here, Ganja John, had a lifelong kidney issue, and had he been in a state like Georgia instead of Oregon, the same kind of thing could happen. I mean, this happens every day. People don't realize that people end up in a jail cell for marijuana. I think a lot of people in the country think, oh, it's just a ticket, no big deal, they take your weed. No, you end up in a jail cell, and people can suffer not just from medical situations, but here in Oregon, we had a case in Multnomah County where a young man was put into a jail cell with a multiple assault type person who beat him to death in the jail cell. So these things can really happen to real people, and I'm so glad that you're getting this out. Let me get the website out again to people. Douglas Truth and Justice, all spelled out. DouglasTruthAndJustice.wordpress.com is the blog to get more information on how to protest and how to make your voice heard on this. I've got a short link up for it. It's right there on the screen, rad-r.us/Rodney, Georgia. Rodney GA. So what has happened since on this case, James? Where are we at?
Well, apparently they claim the case is still being investigated. We believe basically they're trying to string out this investigation. We believe that others possibly may be indicted. So we're really not sure. They're really hush about what's going on. We don't really know what investigation, who is being investigated, but all we know is that the policies that were in place were there because of our sheriff, Phil Miller, and he is ultimately responsible for this young man's death. And let me tell you about Georgia. Okay, we still have laws in Georgia for 28 grams or less. You can serve up to 1 year in prison and a $1,000 fine. 29 grams, you can end up with 10 years in prison, in the state prison over this. It's destroying lives. It's destroying families. It's destroying jobs. And fortunately, the legislature, after 40 years of
Oh, no, I hope we haven't lost you on the phone there. Are you still there, James? All right, we'll try to get you back on the line as best we can here. But reading from this blog, it's pretty amazing. Graham told the staff that he was sick and suffered from a medical condition, and that his wife and father did as well over the next 4 days. So for 4 days, he's telling, look, I'm sick, I've got a kidney disorder, I really need some help here, and they are ignoring him and treating him as if that he's faking it, or basically what it came down to is treating him like he was just a druggie. Like he was some druggie. They said instead of receiving treatment, Graham was put into isolation and treated as though he was detoxing from drugs, and his pleas for help did not yield the treatment that he required for the kidney disorder. And so this speaks to a larger element of this war on drugs that demonizes people and treats them as if they're, some sort of vampire undead that we have to keep away from and just let the demons take their course, instead of treating it like a medical issue that it really was. Let's say the guy was detoxing. Suppose it was somebody who was on heroin or speed or alcohol and they were detoxing. You'd still just let them sit in the jail and suffer like that? This is just ridiculous. I'm going to go back to see if we've got James on the phone. Are you there, James? Can you hear us, James? Oh, darn. We're so trying to get James back on the line here, so I will keep redialing and we'll see if we can get him connected. But again, the website here is douglastruthandjustice.wordpress.com, or you can go to rad-r.us/RodneyGA. And when you spell the Rodney GA, the R and the GA have to be capitalized. James, do we have you on the line there?
Yes, I'm back.
Oh, no problem. Sorry about the disconnection there, but I was just telling folks about how this treatment of Rodney in the Douglas County Jail it speaks to a larger issue of the demonization of drug users. I was kind of saying, so what if he was detoxing? You still wouldn't give him any sort of medical care? I mean, is this common in Douglas County?
Well, yes, it is. What our efforts here to publicize what happened to Rodney Graham has brought forward other families who are saying that their families have been neglected also. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we appreciate any help we can get here in Douglas County, because it is such a tragic thing, and we believe it is systematic. We believe there is this culture of corruption in this county that allows this to continue on. And I was saying earlier about in the state of Georgia, we have penalties here. 28 grams or less, you can serve up to a year in prison. 29 grams, you can do 10 years in prison in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, the Georgia legislature is finally, after 40 years of get tough on crime measures, have decided to do some type of criminal justice reform. So for Norml activists out there in Georgia and other places, we need to focus on Georgia. The legislature, they're trying to reform laws, but we need to direct them towards specifically marijuana, the marijuana issue, and to decriminalize, legalize. You pick your legalization plan or scheme. Anything other than prison time in this state would be a benefit to us. So we encourage all the activists that are in Georgia to please, this is it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the activists to stand up, to participate, and to tell our state legislators that if you're going to reform any law in the state of Georgia, we need to start with marijuana.
Yeah, we definitely need to. And there's a lot of groups out there wanting to help. Our own Georgia Norml State affiliate is working at the legislative level with lobbying and trying to get some of those laws at least introduced and discussed. We've got a new state chapter, Peachtree Norml, that's going to be working at the grassroots level, trying to educate the people of Georgia about these issues. And then, of course, Georgia Moms for Marijuana is also involved, trying to take that to the parents that are always nervous about marijuana legalization. If you're in our chat room at live.norml.org, you can talk to GAM4M. That's Georgia Moms for Marijuana. She can help you on getting involved if you want to get involved there in Georgia. And of course, douglastruthandjustice.wordpress.com will tell you the entire story here of Rodney Graham, and you can download all sorts of flyers and posters and information. And we've got about 3 minutes here left to go, James. Before I let you go, though, I want to just find out what else you might want to tell our listeners about this case, how they can help, how they can donate.
We're not accepting money. What we need is activists. We need activists to get involved with Norml and other reform organizations. They desperately need your help. We have a lot of good activists in Georgia that are working hard to try to reform these laws, but we need more help. So that's the number one thing: is activists need to step forward and get involved. And so, what I'm proud about is how our community has come together, and regardless of what a person does in their life, they certainly don't deserve to die in the custody of our law enforcement. Yeah. So, whatever Norml can do to help us in Georgia, we certainly need that. And Georgia the Norml has been around for many years. They've done a lot of great things to help reform laws, and this is certainly one state that should be focused on.
Yes, we are focused on. I tell you, when I get inquiries from people wanting to start Norml chapters, that's the other part of my job. I'm Norml's outreach coordinator, and I help people build chapters all across the country. When I get those emails from the southern states, I give them extra attention because I believe that we can legalize in all 50 states. I believe the people of the South are actually ready for legalization. When you look at the Gallup polls, it's still not a majority, but it's climbing. It's climbing so fast that I believe we can make this difference.
Well, Georgia was one of the first states to actually have a medical marijuana law on the books. It was a research program, but it was one of the first 14 states in the nation to enact a medical research program. And, of course, the federal government got involved. They cut off the supply. The program died. So though it's still on the books, that law is still on the books. So with a little effort here, we can certainly focus on Georgia. We can start repealing these laws. We can start this is the first time I've been active with Norml and the reform movement for almost 25 years. And this is the first time in the 25 years that I've seen any effort with our state legislature to try to reform law. So I feel like this is the great opportunity.
Yeah.
And hopefully with a little effort, with a little education of our legislators and the public and the media, that we can move forward and change these laws and move on with our lives. Prohibition's been around too long, and we're seeing so much damage and destruction from these laws. And so perhaps this is a time for Georgia.
Yes, let's make it happen, and let's remember the memory of Rodney Neal Graham and all the others who've been persecuted, prosecuted, and killed in this war on certain American citizens using non-pharmaceutical, non-alcoholic, tobacco-free drugs. It's got to end, and you are going to be a part of stopping this. All of you, and including you, James Bell, from Georgia, from DouglasTruthandJustice.wordpress.com. Thanks for being here and telling the story here on Norml Show Live.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Peace.
Yeah, so when we come back, we're going to have a little time for Todd's Toker Topics. We're going to talk about social etiquette and then a little mini radical rant at the end of the show. Stick around. You're listening to Norml Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation, live here on Ustream and the Norml Network.
You're listening to Norml Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation. This is Norml Show Live.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527.
Here at Norml Show Live, we spend all week taking a look at the tragedy of American marijuana prohibition. But it's important to take a break and remember that we are a vibrant, diverse, and oftentimes hilarious community of people. So our friend, comedian Todd Armstrong, joins us to poke fun at one of Todd's Toker Topics.
All right, time for Todd's Toker Topics. Brian Blank filled in last week.
Yes, thank you. Thank him and everybody else.
B Blank's got jokes. Has jokes.
That's right.
B Blank has jokes.
I love him to death, but he has the worst Twitter handle. It's like I can't remember it every time, and every time I literally go to tweet it out, it's like, shit, I forgot.
Is it got or is it has? That's what I do every time.
Has. I think it's B Blank has jokes.
But really, the guy who had Goob the Knob, can you really judge?
I know, I try, but people don't forget it, though. It's never been like, is it Gob the Niblet? It's never been. It's like, no, that shit's pretty memorable. It's like,
good point. All right, so let's get to the Toker topic. Today, we are talking about
social etiquette.
Hit it.
Just like the camera shows, I'm way too goddamn close, like most stoners. It's the first thing I'm going to start off with, is that we, no matter the cross-section of the stoner capital of the world, are personal space monsters. No one's ever told the stoner ever, like, hey, you know what? Could you get a little closer to me as you talk? No one's ever said, like, that guy's talking way too far away from me. It's like, you know what? I understand that. We're very passionate about our ideas. And that's the other thing I need to talk about social etiquette with stoners, is that we often have very broad sampling ideas. My father is a lifelong stoner. He doesn't do it now because he's so close to retirement. He's not going to let the man get his ass. But you know what?
Yeah.
He still believes aliens told the Egyptians how to build pyramids. That doesn't need to come up in a topic of dinner conversation. Nor do you really believe that the cannabis is the mother plant god lord of the earth and we are anointed with its pleasures. If you really believe that, let's keep that out of the statements to the people, and especially the press. Because our ideas and our odors can often, like, pigeonhole us. Because often we're the people at parties that come in smelling either like fresh weed or like bong water. That's our fault. We are the ones that walk in and, you know what, we want to put 3 different types of choices on the party radio. ICP, Cypress Hill, and Snoop Dogg. We need to expand our horizons, because if you're listening to ICP, you should only listen to ICP if you're from Detroit or your childhood was like Detroit. You should only listen to Cypress Hill for the right time and place. And the right time was the 1990s, and the right place was the suburbs. And Snoop Dogg, I'm not even going to get into. He's amazing, but you know what? That's a one-beat pony. You need to introduce yourself as a stoner and embrace it like I do. I tell people I am that when I go to a restaurant, because I tell folks the 3 things I love more in the world socially is food, laughter with friends, and weed. And those things go together so well unless I'm in a public restaurant, because I'm half deaf and I have a big mouth. So my social etiquette. My biggest flaw is I occupy a conversation and I scream louder. Not in a mean way, just in a deaf stoner way. So I go around table to table whenever I'm sitting around Stone McMinimans about ready to have a delicious burger and a beer. And I warn folks that I've had a little bit too much to smoke, and this conversation is going to be enjoyable for you folks to listen to, but it's going to be at the decibel of a goddamn train wreck. I own my social etiquette problems, and I need folks around the world to do that, because we will be more palatable both in the press and in person. I'm Todd Armstrong. I'll see you next Tuesday. Now we'll back away from the camera.
Step away from the camera. Yay! All right, so Todd, you've been busy. You're still touring. You're still doing the shows. Tell folks the latest place they can catch Todd.
Me and B Blank Has Jokes will be at Blitz Bar in the Pearl District in Portland. And next week I'm open for Ben Bailey at Helium, as most folks know. But most importantly, Cinco de Mayo, I'm filming my big DVD in Ridgefield, Washington. Please come one, come all. We'll laugh, have a good time, and you'll get like an hour of me. So it forces me to be a real grown-up comic in front of people and film.
Fantastic. Well, check that out. And
free tickets for Normal Show folks, too.
Website and Twitter and all that?
Yeah, find me on Facebook at Goob the Knob. That's not going to die. Twitter at Arm Todd Strong. And go to oldlibertytheater.com to check out show information about the DVD shoot, please.
All right. And speaking of the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo is also the Global Marijuana March. And
yes.
I believe this year they're calling it Cinco de Mota.
Cinco de Mota. I like that.
You're going to play that Offspring track, too, the Mota.
There we go.
When Taco Bell still had Mexicans working there, they used to always call, wink at me and say Mota.
Back when they didn't have Dorito Locos Tacos.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was disappointed by the Dorito Loco Taco.
Oh, yeah. Did you order it as a double-decker? Did you order it as a double-decker?
No, it's just far too much hype.
It is too much hype.
Too much hype.
All right. They're hard to eat when you're driving, just saying it.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, time for a little radical rant. I got a funny email today. Oh, it made my day. This is so funny. I'm going to read that to you. Also, we'll talk about Mexican drug lord billionaires thanking the government for our prohibition. All that and more coming up. Stick around.
The Norml PAC, the political arm of Norml, makes contributions to members of Congress and select state legislators who support our policies and advance legislation towards that end. Elected officials need to see that those of us who support legalization are serious about changing policy, are about more than just getting high, and understand the importance of supporting politicians who support us. Please make a contribution today to the Norml PAC and send it to the Norml office in Washington, D.C., 1600 K Street Northwest, Suite 501, Washington, D.C., 20006. Or go to the Norml website and make a generous contribution. It is an investment in our future and will help assure we finally re-legalize the responsible use of marijuana in this country. Thank you.
Okay. So that means that our whole solar system could be like one tiny atom in the fingernail of some other giant being. Oh, this is too much. That means that one tiny atom in my fingernail could be
one little
tiny universe.
Could I buy some pot from you?
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley. Radical rant.
All right, time for just a little bit of miscellaneous radical stuff that I've got sitting around here that I wanted to play for the audience. This first one comes from the Young Turks, which is a wonderful show. Love Cenk Unger and his work out there. And a video about the Forbes billionaire, one of the 100 richest people on the planet, thanking the Obama administration for our drug war. He says that it made him super rich. So we're going to go to that video right here from the Young Turks. Check it out.
Joaquin El Chapo Guzman Loera is one of the top drug kings or drug kingpins in Mexico. And he's actually the head of the Sinaloa drug cartel. And Forbes has listed him as the 701st richest man alive.
Wow.
Okay, he owns about $1 billion. And he's a very dangerous guy. In fact, the U.S. is asking for him dead or alive, and they're willing to pay $5 million for it. Now, the reason why he's in the news today is because he says that he owes his entire wealth, okay, to President Obama and those who support the drug war. In fact, let me read you his exact quote. He says, "I couldn't have gotten so stinking rich without George Bush Jr., Ronald Reagan, even El Presidente Obama. None of them have the cojones to stand up to all the big money that wants to keep this stuff illegal. From the bottom of my heart, I want to say, gracias, amigos. I owe my whole empire to you."
Damn! Wow, that... Yeah, I mean, this is respect. Well, you know what, though? You do have to respect that quote. That's a serious-ass quote. He's like, oh, you're going to put a bounty on my head. Well, gracias, amigos, for the $1 billion your clown-ass policies put in my pocket, right? You know, war on drugs? You idiots, you made me rich. You made me stinking rich. And he's absolutely right about that. And, you know, of course, Reagan started it. The Bushes loved the war on drugs. But he's right. President Obama is continuing that same senseless war on drugs. And the private companies that he's talking about, among others, are private security companies that are supposed to chase him down. That are
absolutely right. Of course, let that run on. It's a little bit longer. You can find that at the Young Turks website. Whole bunch of information on that, so check it out. Of course, the 701st. I was a little wrong on how rich the guy was. Let me conclude here by mentioning that Toker Talk Radio, the second hour of this show that you guys listening on the podcast have never heard, well, you're going to be able to hear it starting this Monday, April 2nd. Check out our blog at stash.norml.org for the information on how to subscribe to Toker Talk Radio. That'll be a lot of fun. But let me close with an email that I received today from a, reader or listener in San Francisco, California. This made my day. And you know, when I do my readings of email, you understand that when they type things in all capital letters, that's the equivalent of shouting. So just keep that in mind. Dear California Norml, I guess I got caught by your hourly spam filter. To continue, how would I benefit from cannabis intoxication? First, it must be stated that I am in fact not schizoaffective. Maybe, though one's group's prisms, I am schizoaffective, but telepathy is real, and so is cloud computing. So immediately, I don't know if I really want cannabis. I'd really like beer. I drink good beer, and I like it better than wine or liquor. But see, along with the cannabis, in my case, would come companionship. I dream that one day Darcy Retzky from Smashing Pumpkins is going to come over to my house and rescue me from this Metro Wi-Fi cloud. So in the midst of this Metro Wi-Fi cloud, what I would really like to do is relax and get back to normal. It is stressful dealing with the Metro Wi-Fi cloud and all the people and personalities that come with it. But I have managed to survive. So getting back to normal, the stupid RF, the Metro Wi-Fi cloud just pounds my skull. I just stay at home. It's easier. I do come up with many ideas, such as this email, and having the internet right here allows me to translate the energy which comes across the cloud into an email and direct it in another direction. So, cannabis, I'd like to relax, drink some beer, smoke some cannabis, and watch some music videos with some new friends. Okay, I will, I'll support you in that. I don't know what else to say, but thanks for the email. stash@norml.org if you'd like to shout at me. Thanks for joining us here for Norml Show Live for Cannabis Carrie and Ganja John and Wiz Khalifa and Todd Armstrong. I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers. And watch out for the Wi-Fi cloud.
This is Norml Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
You plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it.
You're listening to the Norml Network, where the time is 420, 24/7, 365. It's 5 o'clock in the Pacific time zone. The workday is done. Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just like cannabis.
Featuring Cannabis Carrie, Ganja John, Wiz Khalifa, and other live guests.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
Plus your calls, live at 971-533-7111.
Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Join our chat room at live.norml.org and become part of the discussion.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome. It's time for Toker Talk Radio. Nothing like starting the hour with a shout email. Carrie doesn't like it when I do those, though. It must be said. It must be noted.
We need socialized medicine.
Carrie is in protest.
I'm such a Debbie Downer. No, mentally ill people kind of just make me sad sometimes. That's all.
Yeah.
Obviously, a disturbed person.
Obviously disturbed. Or a problem with the caps lock button. I'm not sure which.
That's
I'm not
right.
sure which it is.
I think the
Could
real
be
problem is
70.
with the cloud computing.
It's the Metro Wi-Fi cloud.
The Metro Wi-Fi cloud.
Yes, and what I was surprised is there was no contrails in that at all. I'd have thought contrails would have been involved somehow.
It should have been involved.
There should have been some contrails in that to just make it,
What about Building 7?
What about Building 7?
What about Building 7?
I think the contrails took him down.
That could be it. Welcome to Toker Talk Radio, folks. Our phone number here is 971-533-7111. We are hanging out with Todd Armstrong and Wiz Khalifa and Ganja John and Cannabis Carrie. So you got the whole crew here.
What up?
You got any questions or comments? Direct them here.
I got some comments.
John's got some comments.
I got.
That never is good.
kinda
When
talking
Sean
to the
leads
audience.
off with, I got
some shit to
Yeah, I
say.
was kind of talking to the audience, but go right ahead.
No, I was just, I was talking on, and I was talking with some of our fellow podcasters about this, about hash oil in different areas, and people often talk about, wherever has the best hash oil, blah 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 blah. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Colorado has the best hash oil.
Oh,
Colorado has the best hash oil.
He said, "Ooh."
But I'm going to put a little asterisk on that. It doesn't matter where you're from. You can make good hash oil anywhere.
Right.
Consistently, Colorado has the best because I think they have the best medical system that enables them to have good hash oil.
Yeah.
But if I think people should have pride in what they make. But everything here sucks. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, as
what
far
you
as
guys think.
the oils and stuff.
But going out to dispensaries here, it's I ask them things like, "How did you purge this?" And they go, "Huh?
What?
What?
Huh?
Did you vac purge or you heat purge? What? 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 What kind of butane did you use? How many times was it refined? I'm not buying it from you if you don't know.
Exactly.
Just FYI.
Exactly.
This is where if you know
But
if
that's
you
what I'm saying,
want to
there's
be
not
considered
good-
medical, if you want to be considered medical, know what you're putting into your fucking medicine.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm sorry, but I had a friend recently who took a hit of some hash oil and ended up in the hospital with chemical burns on her esophagus.
Oh, jeez.
Because someone decided to just suddenly quit purging their oil. They weren't getting as much weight because when they were purging their hash oil, getting the butane off.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, really.
Because of weight.
Because of weight.
Yeah, that's pretty
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Disgusting. And I know other people are doing it, and it's a disgusting practice. And I'm going to go ahead and say, if you don't know how the hash oil was made, don't smoke it.
Yeah, don't get it.
Yeah.
Don't
Just
get it.
Don't smoke it. Don't buy it. Don't support the people who don't know how their hash oil is made. And I'll tell you too, Russ, I went to a dispensary here in town recently. I won't name which one. But the guy working in there was the stoniest motherfucker I ever met in my life.
Yes.
Oh. In a second.
Sorry, Liebermater got
yeah,
me.
we'll go over that. But like, you know, I'm tired of, you know, like Todd was talking about, is that stoner perception that people have of us. And if you want to be considered medical, know your goddamn product.
No doubt.
Know your product and hire people in your store who are indicative of a medical user or indicative of someone, you know, someone that won't shock your grandmother when they come in the store. How about that?
You know, it's like I wrote in that article that the latest High Times article on the concentrates is they had that little sidebar that said, just like, you know, Prohibition in the 20s led to a bunch of untrained guys throwing up a still wherever they could.
Right.
We got the same situation
It's
here.
the exact same thing as
We got
happening.
Prohibition here, and they're like, okay, what can I get the most bang for the buck? Oil. Easiest to transport, easiest to conceal, easiest to keep out of the, you know, the sight of law enforcement.
Well, it's like this Stealth Products commercial is coming up. Like I've said before, we can fit 500 grams of oil in a Stealth Products bag with no smell.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. I'm not going to say how much, but it's a lot.
That's a lot of THC.
It's a lot of THC, yeah. And people think that they can just do it. They can watch a YouTube video and do it. And that's just not the case. It's not. I've literally seen videos of 13-year-old boys, children, making hash oil in plastic tubes inside their homes.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
And that's not going to help us in any way.
Not at all.
That's not gonna help at all.
And so, you know, if you guys see a video out there that, you know, where someone's making fail oil, we call it on the, you know, between us extract artists, these fail videos, report it, especially if there's a minor making drugs in it,
Yeah.
because that's not okay.
Yeah.
You know, I have some siblings with friends who have made some really bad oil with plastic tubes.
Yeah.
And I've read them the Riot Act when
Yeah.
I've heard about it. You know what I mean? Because it's freaking ridiculous that, I mean, and I think it's spreading beyond, I mean, I'm in the know and
Yeah.
I've only known about oil for like a year and like I've never looked up a video on how to make it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I only get it from two people who I know how to make it, and I
Right.
trust their process and know about their process. But I can't imagine people who are, you know, younger. Like I have siblings who are my sister's going to turn 21 tomorrow, so like I have younger siblings, and I mean people are just making that willy nilly. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous, and you know, coming out black, God knows what's in it. The you know, I've watched a few documentaries about the BPA's in plastic. And God
yeah.
knows what you're literally freezing off of the plastic. You know, I only use glass. I've used the same piece of glass for a year, and it's, you know, I can't understand how you would ever use anything but glass.
And that's kind of, you know, one of the things too is that when you were starting this and saying, you know, Oregon and nothing you found is any good, I'm like, geez, all the oil I've ever had was really tasty. But then it's like, yeah, because we're getting it from in the know. We're getting it guys that know what they're doing. And you know, all the big massive spasm coughing fits, if it's not because you took a lung buster hit, if you're just taking like a real sipper type of hit and you're getting a lung buster kind
your
of cough,
throat hurts.
then it's not purged well. Because the oil I get, when you've seen me take the oil hits, even big ones, and it's just not much of a problem whatsoever because it's nice and clean.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you can tell by looking at it, you know, sometimes, but it doesn't really matter. If it smells like gas, I think the quickest way to test it is to burn it. And I'll put a YouTube video out with some bad oil versus some good oil and how they react to fire. And but if you ever get hash oil and you put it at the end of a dabber and you put a small torch to it or a lighter to it and it sparks up, do not put that in your body.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Don't smoke
Put
fireworks.
that in a double boiler.
Don't smoke fireworks. There you go.
Well, it's not even that, Todd. Don't put it in a double boiler.
I was
You can
just
put, I
joking.
mean, no, I mean that's true though. I've bought oil and I've purged it, and you bring it home and you put it in a double boiler. That's fine. But how long has that oil been sitting there with the butane in it? Because that butane will bond to the THC molecules if it sits there long enough.
Yeah.
The reason why we use butane is because it's non-polar and it tries not to do that. If you let it sit for too long, they'll bond and there's nothing you can do.
Man, you just gave out more chemistry lessons than most American high schoolers get in an
You
entire
wouldn't
year.
believe how much I talk about this.
Yeah.
How much I finally learned after thousands of dollars of scientific equipment, finally learned what temperature just today, what temperature I can pull the butane off while not pulling off terpenes and flavonoids.
Mhm.
And it's only a 2-degree difference. You tell me that people are doing that in their kitchen and that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. No one's making a hash oil in their kitchen that can, be as good as that. You have to really, really pay attention to what you're doing, have a constant climate in the room. And it's a really, really difficult thing to do. You can make good hash oil in your kitchen, but you can't make great hash oil in your kitchen.
There you go. And this is serious stuff too. It is
serious.
It's serious chemistry.
We're going to hear about people dying.
The dawn of the dabs.
And it's not something I want to hear about. People purging in mason jars. One of those is going to explode in a vacuum soon enough. Soon enough.
And that's what I think when I had the first iteration of that Dabs article that I put out, because part of my job is I kind of analyze trends and see where curves are going to go statistically and all that. And I could see the buildings of this whole dab culture, and my mind starts exponentiating. All right, how many people are going to see that? And then they're going to be dumb shits and try it. And then they're going to see the dumb shits who tried it and be even dumber shits who try it. And the coming PR wave, I mean, we've already seen it with Spice K2 synthetic pot hitting us with, all these kids going to emergency rooms because of synthetic pot, which makes everybody think, pot. Right, they leave out the synthetic part in their minds, right? Same thing's going to happen with this oil.
And this is actual pot, people. I mean, there's friends of mine that I've had friends for years who are bringing me oil and going, "Yeah, man, my stuff's great. Gives you real heady high, blah 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 blah." I take one hit of it and I have a butane headache. I've developed in my body a physical reaction to inhaling butane, and it's a migraine. And so, if somebody comes to me with something that's really, really bad and I try and help them or try and tell them what they're doing wrong, they always take it as an insult. Don't take people's constructive criticism as an insult. I know it's your oil. I know it's your baby. But God damn it, your oil sucks.
Do it right. Get it right. This is important, especially when the other thing, too, about it is it being here and in Colorado being medicine.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like, Rad Russ, who's, smoked a lot of pot and could probably handle it if something wasn't perfect about it. Right. We're talking about people with compromised immune systems, weak pulmonary systems,
Yeah, and
these are patients, man.
I can understand if you were selling that recreationally, that's one thing. I'll put, people smoke cigarettes and that has rat poison in it. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But you know what? It's don't piss on my fucking leg and tell me it's raining because you call that medicine. It's not medicine. I threw up this morning from some bad oil. I mean, this is kind of what brought this on. Is I took a hit of it, immediately could tell there was butane in it, and I threw up. And it's like, Kaliko and I purged it myself. Kaliko and I have talked about
called
this.
the Roman purge.
What's going to happen to all these kids who are making hash oil now in Southern Oregon who don't know what they're doing and have never had real hash oil? Are they all going to be blind in 10 years?
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. There's no science behind it. So smoke your own supply. Be comfortable with how much butane you're taking out of your own supply. Also, in Colorado you can buy it almost anywhere, but there's bad oil everywhere.
And share the knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely share your knowledge. Don't hide it. That's I'm sorry, Russ. That's fucked up. But people who work years and years to get this kind of... I understand. You work years and years and years to get your method down. I've worked years to get my method down. But you know what? if you're really in this for medicine, help your patients out and tell them how to make it.
There you go.
Don't be the pharmaceutical company that you are so sorely against. Hey, we're the only ones who know how to make this one kind of candy kush oil or whatever. And hey, if it helps you, that's great. Sorry, you can only buy it from us, and we're never telling anyone how to make it.
Yeah, that's lame.
That's super lame.
You know, it matches what, it's the old Chris Rock routine of they don't cure nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Last thing they cured was polio, and they're still pissed about that. They make it so you can live with it, right? And when we're starting to see that infect the medical marijuana world, that's a bad sign. That's a really bad sign, man. Be like Dr. Linus Pauling, man. Just set that knowledge free. Let it benefit all of us here. And understand too that even if you set the knowledge free and you end up with more competition and more people doing it, if you're doing it well, you'll still be all right.
You'll still be fine.
You'll still be good. There's nothing wrong with a little healthy competition in this.
And you know
market.
what? I'll tell you guys right now. I've actually gone to a few dispensaries in the last couple months here in town. And I've started to ask them questions, and they go, "You obviously know more about this than I do." And I say, "Come to my house, and I'll show you how to make it. Bring me some material. I will show you my method from A to Z." And I do. They think, "Oh, I swindled him out of showing me his method." They go home and they try and do it themselves, and they fuck it up. It's all about experience. And I mean, you need someone to help you. And I'm that kind of guy who works with my hands. So I needed someone to show me how to do it. Videos don't work.
Yeah.
You don't have the tactile or, the smell.
The smell, yeah.
Smell
I would think that would be
huge
important
thing.
with butane, right?
It's very important.
That'd be kind of
But I've seen videos of people who are using like these heatless vac purge methods, and they're like, "Yeah, quit bubbling." Well, yeah, but there's still butane in it. Duh. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You guys are smoking gas. You're smoking gas. Have fun.
Not good. Not good. Well, yeah, thanks for that, John. I mean, a lot of people in the chat room are saying this is a lot of great information. And
yeah, I got upset with a few dispensaries around town. They're saying, kicking me out, saying that theirs is great. And I go, get it tested because you're selling butane.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. In a legal market, it would be tested.
Yeah.
You'd have to have it tested before you could, put it on the shelves.
And that's something I hate about medical marijuana. I absolutely hate it because, I've gone in there and I carry a scope with me because I'm a no bullshit kind of guy. You can probably tell that from the show. And I've looked at bud in bud that looks great, and you go just under the surface and it's been keefed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to buy keefed bud. That's ridiculous. That in a real market that wouldn't happen. And we're still on this edge of being outlaws and in this legal market. And, I think the reason why Colorado has a better, more consistent product is because they have a better system set up. We have these willy-nilly shacks put together. I mean, there's some really nice places like Cannabis, the Human Collective, places like that. But otherwise, they're hole in the walls, you know?
There's also wanted to mention, just shift gears here a little bit before break, Maya Salovitz. I always bring her up. She writes for Times Healthland, Time Magazine. We were talking yesterday, Carrie and I were talking yesterday about the death of Trayvon Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Rude Pundit's post today on that is stellar, by the way. It's a perfect illustration why even words that we consider incredibly offensive should not be purged from our vocabulary, because sometimes they define things more perfectly than anything else could. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to bring up that controversy, but read the Rude Pundit if you want to see what I'm talking about. But it's the title of Salovitz's article here on Time: Blacks, Bias, and Marijuana. Did drug stigma contribute to Trayvon Martin's death? And yeah, I think so, because Zimmerman, the guy that was tracking him down, this self-appointed vigilante, neighborhood watchman, said he thought the boy looked drugged out and suspicious. And now you got the news media trying to bring up the fact, he was suspended because he had an empty baggie of marijuana in his book bag and all this other stuff. They're trying to make him see, and his
vilified.
They're trying to vilify him. His Twitter handle, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it had nigga on the end of it, right? And so now they're trying to make him out like he was some thug or something, and it's not at all true. It's a 17-year-old regular, high school student,
boy. Just
a boy, man. And they're trying to drag his name down. Certain people in the media that have to vilify, we got to find something to hang our hat on here that we can support these gun laws, these shoot first, ask questions later type laws.
Well, keep in mind that although the media is running with it, that information about him being suspended in that marijuana was released and it was leaked by the police force.
Yeah.
Who's trying to paint
Cover
themselves a
themselves.
little
Yeah,
bit
cover
rosy.
their own ass. Yeah.
So it's a very controversial headline. You could say, did drug bias and drug stigma contribute to Trayvon Martin's death? But I would argue that it does. And of course, Maya Salovitz here brings up, the very origin of our nation's drug laws. 1914 article in the New York Times headlined "Negro Cocaine Fiends Are a New Southern Menace." It was all about the blacks were going to they'd get fiendishly strong, and they'd be impervious to bullets, and they'd have an insatiable desire to rape the white women. That's really a lot of how our drug laws got built. The opium laws, the first opium laws at the turn of the 20th century were all about the Chinese luring the white women into the opium dens. The campaign against marijuana from the 30s was all against black jazz musicians in the South, in Louisiana and such, and then the Mexican immigrants in El Paso and Southwest America, and the wicked marijuana they were bringing with us. So when we come back from break, we're going to talk a little bit about this this inherent bias against marijuana users, drug users in general, and other issues around the Trayvon Martin case.
And we'll be back after this.
Got to take a break. Plenty of people to break with. Stick around. You're listening to Toker Talk Radio. We'll take your calls at 971-533-7111.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Norml Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man.